Hey guys, Brandon here, Berserker Off-Road. And I've got some, I'd say, fun news to share with you. It's something I've been toiling over for quite a few months now. And I have decided to make my Jeep Gladiator just a dedicated adventure machine. Using it for family adventure activities, biking, kayaking, making grocery runs with it. Back in Kansas City, it was my daily driver to and from the office. And then yes, I would also take it on my trips. And I couldn't afford another vehicle. And so it had to do all those things. Now that we're in Colorado, my truck, it just sits there. Like I drive it maybe once a week. It sits in the garage. I don't have to go many places. I work from home. So it's at a point now where I can change my build to make it more conducive to my adventure trips. I want to do some actual overlanding trips. Yes, I'm going to use that O word. I want to, work from the road, spend more time out there. Now that I'm in Colorado, I'm so much closer to all these destinations that I want to be at. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I need to change my build to better support that. So until now, my rig, I've treated my trips and whatnot kind of like I'm backpacking. My sleep system, that's with the backpacking tent. Everything is ultra light just to maximize my payload, keep the weight down, and everything about that. While it's great for minimizing the amount of gear I have in the bed of the truck and keeping that weight down, it takes a lot of time to set up. That's something that if I'm going to be on the road more, that I'm not okay with. Because I'll be working, for example, on the road. I've got Starlink, I work in internet marketing, so I can work from anywhere, so I'm going to. And I don't want to be spending so much time setting up and tearing down my camp. I'd rather have more time to either be traveling or unfortunately needing some of that time to actually work. So I'm going to pull back on I'm going to change my camping setup. And I've done a lot of research and digging around on this. I thought about a camper. I thought about doing a rooftop tent, but I really want to do something that's just easy to get in and out of, still gives me some shelter. It requires the least amount of stuff I have to add and take from the Jeep when I get back from my trips, just something that's ready to go. And I think from what I can tell, the best solution for that is a camper topper. It's a topper that goes on the back of the truck, but then built into the top of that is a pop-up rooftop tent. But what it does is it allows you to actually stand in your bed of the pickup truck. When everything's shut and enclosed, you still have a usable space inside your truck bed for doing things like cooking or a space to work. It might be a little cramped, but it works with what I have, and that'd be a massive upgrade from my backpacking tent and a tarp shelter. So I'm thinking about, okay, what are the requirements for my build? My Gladiator, right now it's on stock suspension. It doesn't have the greatest payload because you also have the gear and it's a Rubicon, you have a heavy winch on it, and I just don't want to have a heavier rig because the heavier it is, the more that counts against your reliability because that's just tougher on all the components. So I want a camper topper that's also lightweight. I want to ensure that I have usability or utility of the bed, which means it still has to do truck stuff. I still need to be able to make runs to Home Depot to get lumber or throw the kids' bikes in the back, or I need to throw kayaks on the roof of it if we're going to the lake for the weekend. So it still has to do things like that. And then also, by the way, it has to fit in my garage. So those are different things I take into account. And then the possibility of lifting my truck in the future. If once I get all this on there, I can see myself getting maybe a 2-inch lift. So I need to accommodate that for the camper topper. So it can't be huge or too tall. And I've done a lot of digging into different types of camper toppers. I actually looked at 8 different brands, different models. I looked at magazines, looked at forums, YouTube videos, Google searches, Instagram ads for companies that made them. So I had quite a long list of toppers, and honestly, if I couldn't find you from all that work, and you're a manufacturer, then you need to find a different marketing director because I tried pretty hard to find those. Anyway, so I built out a spreadsheet because why not? And I compared the pros and cons of them, and I was actually pretty surprised with the results I found. Here's the spreadsheet I put together of all the manufacturers I was able to find. I also highlighted the pros and cons of each as they related to my needs for my build. Now, let's look at each individual camper real quick, just so you can get an idea of my thought process as I went through these. First is the Alu-Cab, and this is the one I really wanted to work, but looking at the truck, the first thing that I didn't like once I really thought about it was the back of the truck. And you can see here how you have to remove the tailgate, get a custom kit so it fits to the bed snugly, and then you really lose a lot of utility space in the back of the truck. It's not easy to throw a family's worth of bikes into the back of that thing or run to Home Depot and get a bunch of mulch or lumber. And then you look at the side of this thing, and right here you can see it sticks up almost 30 inches from the top of the vehicle to the top of just those two things alone are a big turnoff for me. So I couldn't pull it into the garage, and it's 550 pounds. The inside of it looks nice. A lot of great features. I think if I were going to be living out of my truck for months at a time, I think this would be a better option. But right now I'm just not at that point. And so this is just a little too extreme for what I need the vehicle to do. Next is Topo Toppers, the Mesa. And something you'll notice right away is a lot of these campers have a very similar design. Metal box that fits on the back of the truck with pop-up camper on the back that has various hard shell. One of the things I did not like about this is when you look at the side of the tent, there's no way you can mount additional things to it, like no track that you can add on, like a shovel or whatever. With the Topo Toppers, it is actually one of the cheapest in the group I checked, and I did not like the door opening on the side of the camper. It would be nice if that was just a little bit bigger to fully access the bed. I do appreciate that you can see the glass through the back, so you can see in. So if you are in the bed of the truck in bad weather, just a little more light in there. So I do like that part of it, and you do have the locking doors on the unit. And now, of course, they do have some accessories. So you could add some things like this when they have an awning mounted to it. So it is possible to add things to the side of it. I would just like more versatility than having to rely on a few brackets. I just wanted something kind of closer to like that extruded aluminum that I could utilize. Next is Camp King Industries. These guys are out of Australia, just like Alu-Cab. Those are the two that are from Australia. The rest of these are from the United States. This one, it's a pretty big unit. I believe it comes in at 340 pounds, so it's middle of the road for the weight, but it's also quite large. Just from looking at the profile picture of this, I can already tell, it sticks up quite a bit higher in the back than other units. I do like the full gull wing doors on the unit, that full bed access. Inside they have a few other accessories like they have the lights that you could add to it. But overall, I just think that other manufacturers just did a little bit better job, a little cleaner job with the unit. And again, it's pretty heavy duty, and I think it's a little more than what I'm needing. Next is from Overland Campers. It's a pop-up camper shell. What's cool is these are completely custom. So you tell them what your truck is, and they build it custom for you. And I saw some videos from them from Overland Expo West. Here's a cool video to watch. And some people actually live out of these things, and they're fully customizable. So if you're in the market where you really need something specific, I think these guys are a great way to go. The weight on it was actually pretty low, only 275 pounds. So among the lightest in the group that I looked at. Also has a pop-up camper view, so a lot more livable space. The whole thing is bigger. I was kind of put off by the look of it, and I don't like the side window access. I'd prefer to have the full door access to the bed instead of a few smaller windows. The Overland Campers also has a lot of accessories. I can see this adding up pretty quickly once you start adding in a lot of these things, making this become one of the more expensive of the options. But again, it is built custom and specific. And so if I were going to be living out of this, I think I would actually consider this camper. But again, this is a little overkill for what I need, but I think it's a great entry. AT Overland. These guys, they're priding themselves in the build quality, and that's from the reviews I've seen. They seem to agree that it's a very high quality unit. The weight on this one, it's 340 pounds, and this one adds 11 inches of height, which means with my truck on the stock suspension and 35s, I would just be hitting the top of my standard size garage pulling in. So that's one of reasons right away I couldn't consider this one. The bed access is minimal. Just in this case, it's just that little window. Price on it, again, it's expensive. It's $13,000. When I option it out the way I'd like it, it'd be over $15,000. So that's no way. That's just too much money. Considering that so many of these are pretty similar in style and design, I think it's just too expensive for what I'm looking at. Next is from Super Pacific, but I like the style of it. I think it's very sharp looking. I like the look of the fabric, and I like the full glowing doors. They have a lot of accessories that go inside, a lot of MOLLE panels and different ways to configure the inside of the truck. It remains open. A lot of access to the bed, so configurable panels, so you can use a lot of the bed if you're staying inside the bed, like if for bad weather. When I optioned this one out for what I needed, it was over $15,000. So again, that price I think is kind of silly for what it is, looking at when you see other options. But I do like the look and styling of it. And again, I appreciate the utility, being able to really load up the bed the way I need to and use it as a truck in addition to an adventure rig. Next is Lone Peak Campers. These guys are fairly new. The owner of this company, Lone Peak, I believe he started out making some camera support rigs, and he's traveled the world. Now, I really like this, and I like that the base price is so cheap at only $6,000. They just finished the prototyping process, and they started shipping these units now, and it's November, but I believe they're pushed out to April now for their deliveries. And I really appreciate just this litany of accessories that you can add on to it. Really customizable. You can get a light to go on the front of it, out of the box. Get solar integration, internal wiring. Now this one, it does weigh 375 pounds. So remember, I do want to keep my weight down on this build, and that's getting a little up there, and it's a great unit, and I'm actually heavily considering this one, even just for the price alone, and because it's helping out a guy that's just starting out. Next is Go Fast Campers, and this one really checks all the boxes for me. The base price of this is only $7,700. When I configured it how I needed, it's about $9,600, and that includes shipping and installation. The height on this is only 6 inches. So I know that if I put this one on my truck, I can still lift it and fit in the garage, which is huge. It weighs 275 pounds, so it's lightweight. I like that it does retain the factory tailgate, and I can have a window on the back. So if I'm inside there, I still get some light. Another really cool thing about this is it has a side ladder. That's something I did not see from the other tent manufacturers, is you can actually get a tent ladder that'll latch onto the side right here on the side of the tent. So you don't have to come and go through the bed of the truck. You'd actually go in through the side. So if you have extra gear or whatever, you have that extra option, which I think is something overlooked by a lot of the other manufacturers. It's lightweight. I can really access all the bed. So I'm thinking I'm going to get this one from Go Fast Campers unless I find another manufacturer. Now this one, the earliest available is March 2024. If you think there's another manufacturer I should check out, please put that in the comments, because again, I'm trying to find the thing that just best suits my options. But this one I think really does fit the bill for me. And also for the camper toppers, two Overlanders that I greatly respect have had similar setups. Dan Grech from the road chose me in a JK that he had where he drove around Africa for 2 years. He had a pop-up camper style setup on his JK. I think it was an Ursa Minor top on his Jeep, and the top popped up on it, and that's what he slept in for almost 2 years. And then Andrew St. Pierre White with 4x Overland. He's another Overlander that I greatly respect. He's been doing it for over 40 years. He builds overlanding rigs. On a lot of his builds also have that pop-up camper type utility, in that he can actually live inside the vehicle. The top pops, it gives him space to move around inside the vehicle when the weather's bad. And I really like that, really appeals to me. And so that's why I'm looking to this type of setup for my 2020 Jeep Gladiator. If you have your own opinions on this, if you think I'm nuts for what I'm doing, or if you have your own recommendation, or you think I need to go a different route, please let me know in the comments below. I still haven't purchased yet, so there is time if you think I'm making a massive mistake. But otherwise, I invite you to stick around and watch the build process while I'm learning about this and changing my Gladiator. I'm going to be spending a lot more time on the road, making more adventure videos, and just having fun and being out there. And I invite you to stick around and check it out and follow me along while I go on my adventures. So I'm Brandon with Berserker Off-Road, and I'll see you on the trail.